Well, one thing, Sal, that you've always specialized in is what you call the wow factor as it pertains to the experience and the execution of the wedding. So tell us what you mean by the wow factor.
Well, there's a lot that goes into this and it has to be set up properly.
So your guests just sat through your ceremony for an hour, then they stood for the cocktail hour, and now it's time to sit for another hour to an hour and a half for dinner. Let's show them that we have great entertainment by teasing them to set the vibe for the rest of the night. Let's create something different than a traditional wedding and get your guests involved with interacting on the dance floor. Talk about fun. You must have a great MC to pull this off.
MC is critical.
Yes, we mentioned,
MC
absolutely.
It's going to make or break it.
Let's set up the example agenda. Okay, so your cocktail hour, say, starts at 6 o'clock. As we mentioned earlier, we recommend live music for this portion of the reception. So at 7 o'clock, the reception doors are now open to the ballroom as the guests enter. Here again, there should be some upbeat music so that the guests are walking into something lively as they find their tables. The number of guests invited to the wedding will, of course, determine how long it will take for them to move from the cocktail hour into the reception ballroom area. Ideally, you don't want to have this longer than 20 minutes. This is what we call the transition time. In the meantime, your MC is getting the parents and the bridal party lined up to be introduced into the ballroom. Once everyone is in place and the guests are seated, then we start introducing and acknowledging the grandparents, whether they are seated or they are lined up and walking in. And then the parents of the bride are introduced, followed by the parents of the groom, as background music is continuing to play. You can choose what song you think fits best as the parents come in. Then, with your bridal party, you can be creative and have specific songs for each couple as they walk in that will start to get the crowd excited. When it comes to introducing the bride and groom, the MC will ask all of the guests to stand for the grand entrance. Woohoo!
And this is where I suggest the MC is going to get everybody standing and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it gives me the great honor and pleasure to introduce to you for the first time as husband and wife, the new Mr. and Mrs. Newlywed couple.
And is this where, at the time where we want the music to stop so we can introduce the bride and groom?
It's silent there, and then the MC is inviting them in, and then from there, halfway through, when they're almost, so that actually then they're playing the song of their choice, which is upbeat, which they're walking onto the dance floor.
Yeah. So the entertainment then performs the song of your choice, and we, as you mentioned, want something very upbeat as they're walking into the ballroom. And you're getting close to the dance floor. The MC is announcing that the bride and groom are going to celebrate their first dance as husband and wife. And I know that you recommend that the song be no longer than 3 minutes.
Right, because then the guests will get bored.
Yeah, we don't want them to lose interest. And then the MC will give another round of applause for the new bride and groom celebrating their first dance. And at that point, the MC announces the parents of the bride and groom to come on down to the dance floor. This goes on for about 20 seconds for the photographer to take a picture, very important. But from there, we then invite the entire bridal party to join with the bride and groom on the dance floor. And we don't, at that point, need to introduce them by name prior. Yeah. Yes. After about a minute or so, as the photographer takes the pictures of the bridal party, the MC then announces firmly to have all the guests who are standing nearby to walk onto the dance floor. For example, all friends and family at this time, please join with me in celebrating the new bride and groom having their first dance together. Keep in mind, we're still vamping on the same initial bridal dance song since this will be about 5 minutes into it. Now you have a packed dance floor with the bride and groom, the parents, the bridal party members, and all the family, friends, and guests. Your entertainment, whether it's a band or DJ, immediately transfers with no downtime or silence into a few fun, upbeat songs that are interactive. That's really a big wow factor
and
there.
And this is where the MC or the DJ or the band member or what have you, interacts with the crowd with, get your hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care, and really engage the crowd, the guests with the band. And you want to make sure that the bride and groom lets the bridal party member and parents stay on the dance floor. Don't leave.
Oh, absolutely.
Get out there, interact.
We want to get them excited.
And just do like 2 or 3 songs. Yeah. And this is like, again, you just sat through a ceremony. You stood through a cocktail hour. You're ready to sit through another hour and a half of dinner. So this is a little kind of wow factor, a little mini dance set that kind of lets the guests know, wow, we're in for a good time. Otherwise, they're thinking, oh, after dinner, we're going to go out of here and go to the club. No, we got a good band here. This, so it's kind of like a little teaser, and it breaks up the evening.
Yeah, this is your hook.
That's the hook. That's the wow.
You have to let your parents and bridal party members
Absolutely.
in on this,
Yes,
so that
they have to
stay
know.
on the dance floor
Correct.
when
Correct.
this
Yes.
happens.
They
Because
have to buy
I've
into it.
seen them leave the dance floor, and everybody else leave
Right,
the dance
right,
floor
yes.
too. And once those few upbeat, fun party songs are over, you have to let your guests know that they are in for a fun night. The MC will then tell everyone to take their seats as the bride and groom are about to then cut the wedding
Cut the
cake.
cake. It's a good transfer to go from the dance floor to the wedding cake. So guests are going to be finding their seats, and then they can cut the cake.
And go
Throw
from
cake in
there.
the face.
And then I know you recommend that the blessing take place.
Yes, I do,
first
because the guests are going to be more quiet whenever a priest or somebody's going to come up and give a blessing, versus when you have a best, because they're more experienced with a microphone anyway. So if you have a best man come up, a lot of times they forget their toast class. They don't know how to work a microphone. So usually when a priest comes up or an officiant or something like that, it's going to say a prayer. Usually people are quiet.
And then after that, it's time
Then
for the
for the
toast.
toast,
Yeah. And then time for the meal, and the band or DJ starts playing
Right,
dinner type
The music transfers into more dinner type music.
Yeah, which,
Right.
there you go.
Right.
That is the flow. That's what keeps
Right.
everybody interested
Right.
and excited about
Yes,
the wedding
and
and the
if
night
there's
going
any
forward.
parent dances, that can be picked up after dinner. Any parent
Mm-hmm.
dances. That's an excuse to kind of draw the attention back on the dance floor, with those parent dances. And if you have any bouquet garter toss, that can be later on. Don't let that photographer rush you and say, let's get all these things done. No, it doesn't. There's a flow because they want to get out of there. Again, hire your photographer and everybody for the whole night. It's not on a time where they got to get this done and get it out.
Yeah.
That doesn't flow right.
I've dealt with some pushy photographers occasionally too, and remember, it's your day. You want to get great photographs, but the wedding is about the experience, not just the photographs.
Absolutely. And this experience for your guests.
Sal, any cautionary tales for the reception?
Well, I have heard this, and this is very careful. Your money card box. I've heard horror stories of people stealing it. So this is what I would recommend is that you have somebody, an assistant or somebody over, kind of keep an eye on it, and you take it away after the reception. After the cocktail hour is when you take it away. And also try to place it where there's a camera, just in case somebody does steal it, you have it on camera.
Or even right there out in the open, not in some back room.
Well, absolutely, got to be somewhere out in the open. It's usually it's the gift table actually, because people are going to give the card, and that's what they can steal is that card box. So,
We've all heard those horror
Right.
stories as well. So now, if the reception is outside, you might want to consider a specialized food truck for the cocktail hour, or even a snack at the end of the evening. That's always fun. You may want to think about having a cigar roller for your cocktail hour if you have an outdoor space. And how about fireworks to sign off at the end of the night? Or how about a few casino games? That would be fun. Or a strolling magician. Maybe have signature drinks based on a theme that's about you and your partner. Have secret pop-up singers break out into song during the end of dinner. Or some kind of impersonator to perform or mingle at the cocktail hour. You could have a tarot card reader or a fortune teller or a palm reader. There are also new and trendy photo booths. You could do a candy buffet. I've had that at some weddings
Yes.
I've been to, and it's been fabulous. There are some new and creative ways on seating charts to look into. It's also important to point out here, and let's be honest, many things can go wrong. Don't sweat the small stuff when you're planning an event of this magnitude.
Something will go wrong.
Yeah, most
Something
likely
go
it
wrong,
will.
yes.
Make sure you spend time with every guest that attends. Some have traveled miles to be there. We suggest you visit with them for a minute or so at least during the reception. And Sal, I know you traveled to a wedding, and what happened to you there?
Well, not me personally, but I've traveled to weddings, but I've heard this from other guests that they've traveled a long way to go to a wedding. There wasn't a receiving line, so they did not meet the bride there. And then during the reception, she just was with her friends the whole entire time on the dance floor. Never went back and greeted all of her other guests that came there and gave a nice gift.
And
So
then that's
my
really
suggestions-
difficult to do
Yeah.
as a bride. But when do you
Right.
suggest they actually go out there and start greeting all the guests?
Well, I would say right after dinner. they're going to eat first, and they should get out there and start hitting the tables. And I always suggest, try to talk to them at least twice during the reception. Again, they drove a long way. Invite them up on the dance floor. Engage in a conversation. To maybe, if it's going to prolong too long, have an assistant with you to help you pull you away to move the
That makes
other
sense, because it can
tables.
take a long time
exactly,
to say hello to every guest.
Right. Right.
Also, another thing to keep in mind is let your bridal party and your parents know the agenda ahead of time, especially when the introductions are taking place. I know that you did experience a story
yes, I
when
have.
groomsmen didn't
Correct.
show up
Yes.
when they were supposed to
Numerous
be there.
times. Yes. So let your bridal party know the agenda. Maybe have a pre-meeting with them at the rehearsal dinner or something. Let them know. Here's some time frames that you need to be responsible for. I've had, again, numerous times we're ready to line up the bridal party, and now 2 groomsmen are missing because we're ready to do the introduction. So where are they? They're out in the parking lot. They're up in their hotel room. So again, times where we're inviting 2 bridesmaids in with 1 groomsman. So it just kind of throws everything off. Changing your agenda and so forth.
So they need to know the agenda ahead of time. They need to know where they're supposed to be and when.
Correct. An email should be sent to them prior to let them know maybe a day or 2 before. They can look it up on their phone, and also a pre-meeting with them too is going to be helpful. Because again, they don't go to weddings every day. This is something new to them, and they should know the times that they need to be responsible for.
Yeah. And something else you want to keep in mind too is be sure to spell out your bridal party names phonetically and go over this with your
Absolutely, yes.
MC. There can be some really difficult names to pronounce.
Right.
And
Sure.
acknowledge your grandparents. They're very important in the wedding ceremony.
Yes, even if they're not going to line up to walk in, just acknowledge them. Start off with that. That's what we usually do.
And alert the best man and the matron of honor about how to speak into the microphone and make sure they bring their toasting glasses
Right.
with
I mean,
them.
How many times they're walking up and they don't have their toast
Yeah.
glass? And I have to run back and grab the toast glass while they're speaking.
Right. And after that, when the guests sit down, start with the officiant prayer as the guests will be quiet. We did say
Right,
that
yeah.
earlier, yes. The MC will at that point tell all the guests to shh. And have the DJ or the keyboard player of the band play soft music as the officiant and best man and maid of honor walk up and back for
Right,
their
yes.
toast. This is to avoid that
Right,
dead
dead
silence.
silence.
Also, if you have pictures taken before the ceremony, this will save a lot of time, and you'll be able to spend more time with your guests, which is what you
Correct.
want. This is a great idea
Right,
as well
yes.
for second weddings.
Right. So if you do take pictures beforehand, now you can go enjoy your cocktail hour, and you can spend time with your guests. So that kind of gives you a lot more, valuable time to spend with your guests.
Absolutely. And consider how to personalize your wedding. For example, if you both went to the same college,
Right.
you could invite the mascot to stop into the reception. There are a lot of good ideas that you could come up with for things that you have in common with your spouse-to-be.